Welcome to the Big Blue Radio Show, coming to you on Tulsa Community College's online station, The Grid, and on the Creativity Channel. I'm Greg Stone, Provost of TCC's Metro Campus in downtown Tulsa.
And I'm Lee Goodson, President of Tulsa Community College. Spring is here, the flowers are blooming, and people are turning their attention to planting and gardening. But today we'll talk to Dr. Connie Murray about the countless native plants in the state of Oklahoma that you may notice this time of year.
Professor Connie Murray will join us today on the Big Blue Radio Show, so stay with us. Well, Dr. Connie Murray, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here to talk with us largely about an interest of yours outside of teaching. Of course, you're a longtime biology faculty member here at Metro Campus. But we want to talk about the Oklahoma Native Plant Society today. Tell us a little bit about that society. What's its mission, and how did you become involved?
Well, I got involved with the Native Plant Society at its founding meeting, which was held in January of 1987 at TCC's Northeast Campus.
Wow.
And so I'm one of the few remaining charter members of the group. It was started by botanists in the Northeast Oklahoma, mostly the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma State University, and just to promote awareness of native plants. Oklahoma, and Tulsa in particular, was, had undergone a real building boom, and we were losing a lot of prairie, losing a lot of forest. And so the idea was just to familiarize people with native plants, to get people to realize that you could plant native plants in the gardens and attract wildlife. And so if we're losing native habitat, you can put the native habitat back in your yard.
Oklahoma is in a geographic location that lends itself to a lot of native plants. Can you, as a botanist, kind of tell us about why our location lends itself to more than average native plants? And then, of course, my allergist may ask, is that the reason that so many people in Oklahoma have allergies?
Yes. Well, that and the wind that brings in things from everywhere.
It moves everything around.
We go from a altitude of about 300 feet in southeastern Oklahoma to an altitude of 3,900 feet in northwestern Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then we go from rainfall that's about 15 inches of rain a year in northwest Oklahoma to almost 70 inches of rain a year. And that allows for a tremendous amount of diversity. You get this clinal gradation.
Yes.
And so you have desert things and high plains things in the far western part of the state, the Panhandle. You have Rocky Mountain flora basically there, and you have almost Gulf Coastal Plain flora in the far southeast part of the state. And in fact, I'm also part of a group of botanists who are working on the flora of Oklahoma, which is a key to more than 2,500 vascular plants in Oklahoma, which gives us a very diverse flora. So it gives you lots of things to be allergic to.
It does. How many native plants are there in Oklahoma? Do you know?
It's more than 2,500.
Right.
The number keeps changing a little bit.
Right.
Those are vascular plants. Now, if you want to consider mosses and things, I don't even know what the number becomes.
Yeah. Okay, but for vascular plants, above 2,500.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is huge. I mean,
that's a big number.
Texas flora exceeds ours. California flora exceeds ours. That's it.
Wow.
We have more native plants than all of New England.
Wow.
So if someone's really interested in learning more about those native plants, obviously they could visit the Oklahoma Native Plant Society.
Right.
And we'll put that website up on the screen for anyone who is interested in going there. But where else can people go? Are there particular nature centers, nature preserves in the area around Tulsa that you would recommend people go to visit to really take in some of the diversity of that flora?
Oxley Nature Center, which is part of the Tulsa Parks Department out at Mohawk Park. is excellent. The trails at Turkey Mountain are good. The new botanical garden that's in Osage County has a native part. They're planting, exotic things and unusual things and particularly lovely things, as your standard botanical garden does. But they're also planting, they have a native area too. And so they have things that are listed, labeled, so that you can go and learn the native things too. And then we sponsor, along with the Audubon Society every year, a wildlife habitat tour. That this year is the weekend of the 20th, I think, of May. And there are gardens from around Tulsa, just people who volunteer to let people tramp through their gardens and see how they've integrated native plants into their own landscape.
I volunteered last year with Oxley Nature Center on that event, and it really is so fantastic to get to go into someone's backyard and just to see how exotic in some ways it can be, because I'm so accustomed to just nicely mowed backyards and hear all sorts of native flora and things that I wasn't really even familiar with, but that is native to this area of the state. So
there's really different sections of the state because of where we are in the middle section of the United States. It's really what's in northwest Oklahoma is completely different than what's even in northeastern Oklahoma, and especially southeastern Oklahoma.
We're really north meets south and east meets west here. And it really gives us a lot of diversity.
Right.
You can use, for part of Oklahoma, you can use the north central Texas flora. For our part of Oklahoma, you can use Arkansas flora, or you can use Missouri flora. For Stillwater area, you can use the Kansas flora. So
interesting. You talked about in 1987 was when your organization began, and it was because there was a lot of development going on in Tulsa. Talk to us a little bit about how development impacts the number of species that we're able to maintain in the state, and as a state, where are we with that in making sure we preserve our species?
Well, we still have a lot of native area. It's just the question of the native area just gets farther and farther away from the central core of where the people are.
Right.
Which means people become less and less aware of what nature is really like. I've seen that in my 40 years of teaching just at TCC.
With who you've got in your classroom.
Right, and how aware they are. 40 years ago, there were a lot of people who still had a somewhat rural sensibility, and now that's not the case at all.
Interesting.
So we still have a lot of botanical diversity, but occasionally when you have some really small patches of special things, and there are some, particularly in the southeast, there are a lot of specialized orchids where some people know of some patch where there's just this one little rare orchid.
And that's the only place it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I recall somebody who, one of the botanists from Southeastern, they were going to build this church on this prairie where it was the only orchid that she knew. So we, as the Native Plant Society, went and did reclamation and dug up all the orchids because they were going to be a parking lot.
Because that's the only place you could find them. So, and you relocated them.
Relocated them.
Yes. So part of it's about species preservation, but then also the other part of it in terms of development is the people getting farther away from this plant awareness. So that's part of the mission as well.
Yes.
And certainly our philanthropists in town through the Oxley Nature Center and Turkey Mountain, which recently the George Kaiser Family Foundation had a part in helping us preserve that.
Yes.
Are taking part in keeping us aware and then also preserving the species. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Connie, you just mentioned your 40 years of teaching here at Tulsa Community College, teaching botany, biology, zoology at some point. Never zoology. I'm an English major. They all kind of run together for me at some point. But I'm just curious about how your involvement in the Native Plant Society has impacted your teaching, and what do students who enroll in your courses do you take them on field trips? I mean, sort of walk us through what a botany class is like with you and how students are impacted by your knowledge and expertise with ONPS.
Well, you know, teaching for 40 years, if I had stayed in the classroom for the whole 40 years, I would have gotten away from my teaching subject. So I have spent a lot of time being involved with the Native Plant Society and the Oklahoma Academy of Science. And both of those I've brought students to. They both have field meetings, and I offer opportunities for students to come. You know, sometimes I give them directions, sometimes I've taken them with me. To take them out into the field, especially students who don't have a sensibility of what it's like to be out in the woods. And they come away and sometimes they're really transformed. They say things like, I had no idea, thus and such. You know, well, my grandfather always told me about this, and now I've seen it and I know.
Talking about transforming people, Dr. Valerie O'Brien has been a guest on the show, and she talked to us about coming back to college and being a student of yours and being herself transformed by those kinds of experiences, and now she's doing the same for other students.
Yes,
so
it's a wonderful feeling to have that happen. Essentially your own intellectual children.
Right.
I have one surprise question to kind of ask you. Are the University of Tulsa and Oklahoma State University still involved in the Native Plant Society the way they were at the beginning in 1987?
Oklahoma State is.
Through extension mostly?
No, actually it's just some of the professors.
Okay.
Stay interested and stay associated. One of them just retired, but still some of the newer young faculty have been being involved. TU has changed a little bit more to a wet lab approach rather than a field approach.
I see.
So somewhat less so.
Less so.
Although they come and still are speakers.
So that's pretty encouraging that young faculty members are still engaged and being your successor, if you will, you know, of the founders to carry on the Oklahoma Native Plant Society. What would you? How would someone find out more about the?
Well, we have a website.
Okay.
You can just. I can't remember exactly what the call letters of it are, but if you just type into a search engine, Oklahoma Native Plant Society.
It'll pop up.
It pops
on
up.
Google or Yahoo.
Yeah, and we have 4 chapters throughout the state, so you don't even have to stay in Tulsa to be involved.
Wow.
There's a central chapter that's out of Oklahoma City and a Cross Timbers chapter that's out of Stillwater and a new Southwest chapter that's out of Lawton. And so they all have meetings. It's all volunteer. It's sort of spearheaded by professionals, but the point is to get non-professionals involved in the organization, to get people who garden, people who just like to be out in the field and walking through the woods, to just be a little bit more aware of what they're seeing when they're out there, other than beauty.
Well, Connie, we just have a minute or two left, but I wanted to ask you the question that we ask all of our guests, which we call the big question, which is, if you could go back in time and give your 18-year-old self about to enter college some advice, what would that advice be?
Be intellectually bold. Be adventuresome. Don't decide too early what you want to do. Take classes outside of what you think your specialty is going to be, and be sure about what you're going to major in. And it's kind of maybe trite to say the Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. Do that thing that makes you happy, because you're going to be affiliated with this area of engagement for maybe not your whole life, but for a long time in your life. So love it.
That's great advice for
great
anybody to follow.
advice at any age. Yes, thank you.
Well, that is all the time we have for today, but we do want to thank our guest, Dr. Connie Murray, for joining us and sharing with us some of the beautiful native plants of our state. Connie, thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for joining us. Remember, you can find us every week online at The Grid, tulsacc.edu/thegrid, and on the Creativity channel. We'll see you next time.